is perhaps useful to do now is have a look at the different categories of ontology. And through looking at the difference between these categories, we can try and see what ontology is by the contrast. So let's start with a hard ontology. These are labels that I'm using for the purposes of this course. A hard ontology sees truth as existing independent of an observer, that the truth and that reality is out there regardless of our need to even observe it, our need to be here to experience it. That physical systems would still process in the same ways that they do now, even without human beings. Chemical systems would work in the same way, chemical reactions would happen in the same way, energy reactions, energy transfers would happen in exactly the same ways, regardless of whether humans are watching or not. And this is the role that science takes, or the ontology that science takes. It takes the view that an observer should be separate from a system, should merely just observe the system and be, and not have any effect on it whatsoever to understand its true workings. That the truth is happening regardless of its observation. And it is the ontology that's dominantly used in the natural sciences. And it is where one creates an experiment, or an example would be, one creates an experiment and trying to simulate what would happen in nature in order to understand how things happen in nature. So I want to understand how a virus attacks blood cells. I put virus and blood cells in a particular solution. I observe what happens. They are not conscious of my observation of them, and they will just react in ways that are innate in their nature. And so that is what a hard ontology is. An observer is separate. When you have a hard ontology, you're seeing the world as objective, certain truth. And when you want to take a hard ontology, your goal is to create a model or theory that predicts reality. Because if reality is always happening in the same way, if we can, the goal of knowledge is to model that way that reality is, to model reality so we can predict how it eventuates, or the outcomes of particular processes. And so validity is predictability in a hard ontology. A medium ontology, on the other hand, sees truth as being intersubjectively agreed upon. So as an intersubjective truth, it just means that truth is whatever we all agree it to be. So a perfect example of a medium ontology is anything that's constituted within language. So we all agree that this particular bottle here, within our cultural system, within our society, contains water. It looks like a water bottle. We all agree that that is a water bottle, that water means a liquid H2O. So basically here, a medium ontology is perceived truth only to the extent that it is accepted by everybody. And usually those types of truths are true because of its referential qualities, that H2O is connected to water, which is connected to the bottle, the symbolic shape of that bottle, and we in society all agree that to be true, and therefore it is true. But without human interaction, without language, without particular forms of social representation, none of it is true. It is only true to the extent that we accept it to be true and that it is useful to be true. So a medium ontology is concerned with phenomena that is socially constructed, social systems. And the last category is a soft ontology, or softer ontology. And that is the view that reality is constituted within one's mind. I think pop culture has termed this the Matrix view of the world. And Matrix is a great movie because when Neo wakes up in the slime and realizes that everything he's experienced is a dream, he's been plugged into the Matrix, and we get a sort of sense that, oh my God, we too could be plugged into the matrix. We too could be oppressed by some major overlord who's sapping us of energy and robbing us of free will. The answer is that is true. That we are plugged into the matrix. We are absolutely true. And that we are constituted completely by what authorities and powerful organisations tell us to believe. We are absolutely constituted within their cultural apparatus. And this is a particularly interesting view. So a soft ontology sees that reality is only what is in the mind. It's also the view that Buddha had, that Buddhism has, that we make heaven and hell within our own mind. And it's not that this is a better ontology than the medium or the hard, but it's just another way of seeing our interaction with phenomena, another relationship that we have with phenomena. Now, it is the view that truth is perceived. That reality is only what is perceived within the mind, and that we have actually no ability of actually seeing hard ontology or seeing a hard truth. That what we think we see as being certain is only made to feel and look certain because we want certainty in our lives. And that we've created a language system and a game that imposes false certainty on the certain things that we study. And so it's an interesting way. So how can our minds be constituted by reality, or how can the mental truths come to be? Soft ontology is that the choices that we make impact us and change us at a very deep level. So an example that I can give about my personal life is last year I started fighting again in mixed martial arts, and I hadn't done that for a while. And it was intense forms of competition and extremely violent. And although I still have great passion for it, I had to stop it. What it was doing, it was creating a paranoid and adversarial mind state that, although a lot of people argue that doing martial arts should get rid of aggression, it's a sort of channel for getting rid of aggression, constantly training your body and mind to see another person as an opponent meant that you're creating a mind, you're creating a subjective framework that sees everybody as being a potential target. And it was amazing that in that time, I really started to think that Sydney was full of more and more tough guys, more and more guys that wanted to have a fight with me, more and more guys that thought they could take me. And I honestly thought that in objective terms, there was more and more tough guys out there. And then one day I realised that it was because of the paranoia that being constantly put in a violent, pressurised situation creates a certain mindset, and then you start projecting your own aggression, your own ethical outlook onto other people, and you'll start seeing other people in terms that you're seeing yourself. So they're almost like a reflection of how you see yourself. And that was scary. And that's an example of this soft ontology. And I just want to reiterate again. A soft ontology sees reality as the only reality is existing within the mind. That this is all we know about. Everything in here is the only thing we've got. And that, and so we want to study how the mind works, how the mind perceives reality.